Have you ever felt like your mind is betraying you, dragging you into a whirlwind of stress, anxiety, or frustration, and no matter what you do, you just can't seem to escape? It's like you're stuck in an emotional tornado, spinning around in circles, and the harder you try to calm down, the worse it gets. Sound familiar? If you've ever found yourself overwhelmed by emotions that seem impossible to control, you're not a cycle to face these type of situations. We've all been there, and trust me, it's more common than you think. But here's the good news. You don't have to stay trapped in that mental chaos. There's a way to understand exactly why this happens, and better yet, how to take back control of your mind, even when it feels like your emotions are spiraling out of control. By the end of this video, you're going to have practical tools that can help you weather those emotional storms and find peace in the middle of the chaos. So, if you've ever wondered why your mind gets caught up in those overwhelming emotions, and more importantly, how you can break free, you're in the right place. In this video, we're diving deep into how your mind traps you in emotional storms. Those moments when it feels like everything is out of your control, your thoughts are racing, and your body feels like it's in constant fight or flight mode. But stick with me, because I'm going to walk you through some powerful strategies that can help you manage these storms and calm your mind, no matter how intense the emotions get. Before we dive in, let me ask you this. Have you ever had a day where one small thing goes wrong, and suddenly it feels like your entire world is falling apart? Maybe you spill coffee on yourself in the morning, and then the rest of the day feels like an avalanche of stress and frustration. By the time evening rolls around, you're emotionally drained, and it feels like the smallest thing could push you over the edge. This is a classic example of an emotional storm building up. It starts with a little thing, but then your mind takes over, piling one negative thought on top of another until it feels like you're buried under the weight of your own emotions. And here's the tricky part. When we're in the middle of that emotional storm, it's incredibly hard to see a way out. Our thoughts become tangled, our emotions heighten, and everything feels overwhelming. But what if I told you that emotional storms, just like real storms, are temporary? They pass. You might not always be able to stop them from happening, but you can learn how to ride them out and stay calm, even when your mind is spinning out of control. Think of it like being caught in a storm at sea. The waves are crashing, the wind is howling, and everything seems chaotic. In those moments, it's easy to feel like you're going to be swallowed up by the ocean. But if you've got the right tools and know how to stay anchored, you can weather the storm and come out the other side stronger. That's exactly what we're going to explore today. How to anchor yourself in the middle of an emotional storm and stop it from sweeping you away. But first, we need to understand what's really happening when you're caught in one of these storms. It's not just about feeling sad, anxious, or frustrated. It's about how your mind creates and intensifies these emotions, often without you even realizing it. And that's where we're going to start. In the next part of this video, I'll explain exactly how your thoughts fuel emotional storms and why it can feel so hard to break free from them. So stick around, because by the end of this, you're going to have a whole new perspective on how your mind works during those difficult emotional moments. And more importantly, how you can regain control and find peace, even when it feels impossible. You'll also learn some simple, effective techniques that you can start using right away to calm your mind and stop emotional storms before they take over. Now, before we get too deep into this, I want you to think about a time when you felt completely overwhelmed by your emotions. Maybe it was after a tough day at work, an argument with someone you care about, or just a situation that left you feeling stressed or anxious. Close your eyes for a moment and picture that experience. How did it feel? Did your mind start racing with negative thoughts? Did your body tense up? Maybe your heart started pounding, and it felt like you couldn't catch your breath. I want you to hold on to that feeling for a second, because as we go through this video, I'm going to show you why your mind reacts the way it does, and how you can stop those reactions from spiraling out of control. It might seem impossible when you're in the middle of an emotional storm, but trust me, there are real, science-backed ways to calm your mind and take back control. In fact, some of these techniques might surprise you with how simple they are, but I promise, they work. So if you're ready to finally break free from those overwhelming emotions and learn how to stay grounded, even when life feels chaotic, stay with me. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now that we've set the stage, let's dive into what exactly an emotional storm is. Imagine yourself in the middle of a real storm. Dark clouds gathering, thunder crashing, lightning flashing, and the wind howling all around you. It's intense, right? Everything feels chaotic, unpredictable, and completely out of your control. That's exactly what happens inside your mind when you're caught in an emotional storm. The only difference? The storm isn't outside. It's happening in your thoughts and emotions. Here's the thing. Emotional storms can feel just as overwhelming as real ones. Your mind becomes flooded with negative thoughts, fears, and worries, and they start to swirl around like a tornado. One moment you're fine, and the next it feels like everything is falling apart. And the more you try to push those feelings away, the stronger they seem to get. It's like the harder you fight, the more the storm rages on. But why does that happen? It's all about how our minds react to strong emotions. You see, when something stressful or upsetting happens, your brain goes into overdrive. It's trying to protect you by analyzing the situation, but in doing so, it often makes things worse. Your thoughts start racing. What if this goes wrong? Or I can't believe this is happening to me. These thoughts build on each other, and before you know it, you're caught in a whirlwind of emotions, an emotional storm. Here's a common example. Let's say you've had a tough day at work. Maybe a project didn't go as planned, or you had a frustrating conversation with a coworker. You try to brush it off, but the more you think about it, the angrier or more anxious you become. Then, when you get home, something small happens. Maybe you spill your drink or get a frustrating email, and suddenly, it feels like the weight of the entire day is crashing down on you. This is when the emotional storm really hits. Your thoughts are spinning, your emotions are all over the place, and it feels like you've lost control. Sound familiar? That's what an emotional storm looks like. It's a buildup of stress, frustration, anxiety, or sadness that hits all at once and takes over your mind. And once you're in the middle of it, it can feel almost impossible to find your way out. But here's the thing. You can find your way out. Emotional storms are powerful, yes, but they're also temporary. They don't last forever, and you have more control over them than you think. But before we get to how you can calm an emotional storm, we need to understand something crucial: how your mind fuels these storms. Why do these storms intensify so quickly? Why does it feel like your brain is working against you instead of helping you calm down? In the next part, we're going to break down exactly how your thoughts feed the emotional storm. And once you understand this, you'll be able to stop the storm before it gets out of control. So hang tight, because this is where things get really interesting. You're going to learn that your mind, while incredibly powerful, can also be your biggest obstacle when it comes to calming your emotions. But it doesn't have to be that way. I'll show you how to regain control and stop emotional storms from taking over. Now, while we're on the topic, I want you to think about the last time you felt like you were caught in one of these emotional storms. Maybe it was after a tough conversation, a stressful day at work, or a moment where everything just felt overwhelming. Can you picture that moment? How did it feel in your mind? Was it like a flood of negative thoughts all coming at once? Hold on to that memory for a second, because as we continue, I'm going to give you insights into why your mind reacts the way it does, and most importantly, how you can change that reaction. Emotional storms may feel powerful, but once you understand how they work, you'll realize that you have the power to calm them down. Stay with me, because what's coming next might completely change the way you think about your emotions. Alright, so now we know what an emotional storm is, a whirlwind of overwhelming emotions that can make us feel like we're spiraling out of control. But here's the big question. What makes these storms so intense? Why do some emotions quickly escalate into full-blown mental chaos? The answer lies in how our thoughts feed and fuel the storm. Think of your thoughts as the wind that makes a storm stronger. When something stressful or upsetting happens, your mind kicks into overdrive. It starts generating all kinds of thoughts, negative, anxious, fearful, and each one adds fuel to the emotional storm. You might notice it in yourself. For example, if you're feeling anxious about a big presentation at work, your mind doesn't just think, I hope this goes well. Instead, it starts spiraling. What if I mess up? What if they don't like it? What if I lose my job over this? And just like that, the emotional storm builds. Here's the thing, your mind is trying to help. When you're faced with a challenge or a stressful situation, your brain's job is to protect you. It's constantly scanning for potential threats, trying to predict what could go wrong so you can prepare for it. That's why when you're stressed, your thoughts often jump to worst-case scenarios. But instead of protecting you, these thoughts can actually trap you in a cycle of anxiety and fear. The more you focus on those negative thoughts, the stronger the emotional storm becomes. Let's take an example most of us can relate to. Imagine you've just received an unexpected text from your boss asking for an urgent meeting. Immediately, your mind starts racing. Did I do something wrong? Is there a problem with my work? Am I about to get fired? Within minutes, you're not just worried about the meeting, you're panicking about your entire future. That's the emotional storm at work, and it's all because your thoughts have spiraled out of control. But here's the key thing to understand. Your thoughts are not facts. Just because you're thinking something doesn't mean it's true. And that's where we often get trapped. We treat every negative or anxious thought as if it's a fact, and we react to it emotionally. The more we do this, the more we get pulled deeper into the storm. But what if you could stop this cycle before it gets out of hand? Let me explain how it works. When you're caught in an emotional storm, your brain enters what's called a fight or flight state. This is a survival mechanism that's hardwired into all of us. Back in the day, when we were faced with real physical dangers like predators, this response kept us alive. But in modern life, the dangers aren't lions or tigers, they're social situations, work stress, or personal conflicts. Even though the threats aren't physical, our brains still react as if we're in danger. Our hearts race, our muscles tense, and our thoughts go into overdrive, searching for a way to escape the threat. So, how do you stop feeding the emotional storm? The first step is awareness. You have to notice when your thoughts are spiraling out of control. Ask yourself, is this thought really true, or is it just my mind jumping to conclusions? This tiny pause can make a huge difference. By challenging your thoughts instead of automatically reacting to them, you can begin to take the power away from the storm. But that's just the beginning. In the next part, I'm going to show you some practical techniques to stop these thought spirals in their tracks. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this. Because once you learn to calm your mind, you'll start to feel a sense of control, even in the middle of life's biggest emotional storms. Take a moment right now and think about a recent time when your thoughts got the best of you. Maybe it was during a stressful situation at work, or maybe it was something personal. Can you remember how quickly your mind started racing with negative thoughts? Now imagine how different that situation would have felt if you had the ability to pause and challenge those thoughts instead of letting them spiral out of control. Hold on to that thought, because in the next part, we're going to dive into the specific techniques you can use to stop feeding emotional storms. These are practical tools you can start using today, and they'll help you calm your mind and regain control when emotions start to take over. So stick with me, because things are about to get really helpful. Now that you understand how your thoughts are fueling the emotional storm, let's talk about how to stop it. When you're caught in the middle of a storm of negative emotions, it can feel like you have no control over your mind. But the truth is, you have more power than you realize to stop feeding the storm. And it starts with breaking the spiral of thoughts that intensify your emotions. One of the most effective ways to do this is by practicing something called mindfulness. You've probably heard this word before, but let me break it down in a way that's really easy to understand. Mindfulness is simply the act of being fully present in the moment, without judgment. When you're mindful, you're not getting swept up in your thoughts or worries about the past or future. Instead, you're focused on what's happening right now. Sounds simple, right? But when you're in the middle of an emotional storm, it can be hard to focus on the present moment because your mind is racing with what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. So how do you bring yourself back to the present? The answer is your breath. Your breath is one of the most powerful tools you have to stop the emotional storm in its tracks. Here's why. When you focus on your breathing, you give your mind something to do other than spiral into negative thoughts. It helps you ground yourself in the present moment, and it sends a signal to your brain that you're safe, which helps calm the fight-or-flight response we talked about earlier. Let me walk you through a quick and simple breathing exercise that you can do anytime you feel an emotional storm building up. It's called 4-7-8 breathing, and it works like this. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7. Exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 8. That's it. It's incredibly simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. When you do this, you're not just calming your body, you're also interrupting the thought spiral. You're giving your brain something to focus on other than the anxious or negative thoughts that were fueling the storm. And the best part? You can do this anywhere, anytime. Whether you're sitting at your desk, stuck in traffic, or lying in bed at night with your thoughts racing, this technique can calm the storm. Why does it work so well? It works because it's activating your body's natural relaxation response. When you're caught in an emotional storm, your body is in fight or flight mode. Your heart is racing, your muscles are tense, and your mind is going 100 miles per hour. By slowing down your breathing, you signal to your nervous system that it's time to relax. It's like pressing the reset button on your emotions. But breathing exercises are just the beginning. There are other mindfulness techniques that can help you break the thought spiral and calm the storm. For example, another technique you can use is called grounding. Grounding is about connecting with your physical surroundings to bring yourself back to the present moment. When your mind is spinning with anxious thoughts, grounding helps you shift your focus away from your thoughts and onto something concrete. Here's a simple grounding exercise you can try right now. It's called the 5-4-3-2-2-1 technique. 5. Look around and name 5 things you can see. 4. Name 4 things you can touch. 3. Name 3 things you can hear. 2. Name 2 things you can smell. 1. Name 1 thing you can taste. This exercise is great because it pulls you out of your head and into the world around you. It gives your mind a break from the negative thoughts that are fueling the emotional storm and helps you stay grounded in reality. By focusing on your senses, you're reminding your brain that you're safe and that there's no immediate danger. This, in turn, helps to calm your emotional response. Now, I know what you're thinking. Will these techniques really work when I'm in the middle of an emotional storm? The answer is yes, but like anything, they take practice. The more you practice mindfulness and grounding exercises, the easier it becomes to catch yourself before you get swept away by the storm. And over time, you'll start to notice that the emotional storms don't hit as hard and they don't last as long. So, the next time you feel your emotions starting to spiral, I want you to try one of these techniques. Whether it's focusing on your breath with the 4-7-8 method, or grounding yourself with the 5-4-3-2-1 technique, these simple tools can help you calm the storm before it gets out of control. Reframing your thoughts. Changing the storm's direction. Now that you've learned some powerful tools to stop your emotions from spiraling out of control, let's take it a step further. The next key to calming emotional storms is learning how to reframe your thoughts. If you can change the way you think about a situation, you can change the way you feel about it. This concept is called cognitive reframing, and it's one of the most effective ways to stop an emotional storm in its tracks. Here's how it works. When we're caught in a storm of emotions, it's usually because we're stuck in a negative thought pattern. We're interpreting a situation in a way that makes us feel worse, not better. But what if you could take that same situation and look at it from a different angle? By changing your perspective, you can reduce the emotional intensity of the storm. Let's break it down with an example. Imagine you're driving to an important meeting and suddenly you get stuck in traffic. Your first reaction might be frustration and panic. I'm going to be late. "This is a disaster. My boss is going to think I'm irresponsible." This is the beginning of the emotional storm. But if you stop for a moment and reframe the situation, it can change how you feel. Instead of thinking, "I'm going to be late," you could tell yourself, "Traffic happens. I'll send a quick message to let them know I'm running late, and I'll still be able to make a good impression once I get there." Notice how that shift in perspective changes the emotional intensity? By reframing the situation, you've taken the power away from the storm. Instead of spiraling into panic and frustration, you're staying calm and focused. The situation didn't change. You're still in traffic, but the way you're thinking about it did. And that makes all the difference. But here's the thing. Reframing isn't about pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's not about ignoring your emotions or forcing yourself to be positive. It's about recognizing that there are different ways to interpret a situation, and choosing the one that helps you feel more in control, rather than letting your emotions run the show. Let's say you've had a falling out with a friend. Your initial thoughts might be, "They don't care about me anymore," or "Our friendship is over." These thoughts can easily trigger sadness, anger, or anxiety, fueling an emotional storm. But if you step back and reframe the situation, you might realize, we've had arguments before, and we've worked through them. This is tough, but it doesn't mean the friendship is over. By changing how you interpret the situation, you're reducing the emotional charge behind it. The goal of reframing is to give yourself a chance to see things more clearly. When we're caught up in emotions, our thoughts often become distorted. We jump to conclusions, catastrophize, or assume the worst. Reframing helps you challenge those automatic thoughts and replace them with more balanced, realistic ones. How to reframe your thoughts. So how can you start reframing your thoughts the next time an emotional storm hits? Here's a simple, 3-step process. Pause and identify the thought. The first step is to catch yourself in the moment. When you notice that you're feeling overwhelmed or that your emotions are starting to spiral, take a mental step back and ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Challenge the thought. Once you've identified the thought that's fueling your emotions, ask yourself, is this thought really true? Often our automatic thoughts are based on fear or worst-case scenarios, not facts. By challenging these thoughts, you can start to see them for what they are. Just thoughts, not reality. Reframe the thought. After you've challenged the thought, try to come up with a more balanced or helpful way of looking at the situation. This doesn't mean sugarcoating it, but rather finding a perspective that helps you feel calmer and more in control. Let's revisit the earlier example about traffic. The thought fueling your frustration might be, "I'm going to be late, and my boss will be furious." You can challenge that thought by asking, is that really true? Does one late arrival mean my boss will think I'm a bad employee? The answer is probably no. Then you can reframe the thought. Traffic happens to everyone. I'll explain the situation when I arrive, and I'll still do my best in the meeting. This simple shift can make a huge difference in how you feel. Instead of being caught up in the storm of frustration and worry, you're taking control of your thoughts and steering the storm in a different direction. I want you to think about a situation in your own life where your thoughts might be fueling an emotional storm. Maybe it's something small, like getting stuck in traffic, or maybe it's something bigger, like a disagreement with someone you care about. What are the thoughts running through your mind in that situation? Could you challenge them? How might you reframe those thoughts to feel calmer and more in control? Take a moment to reflect on that. And if you want, share your experience in the comments below. Because learning how to reframe your thoughts takes practice, and the more you share and learn from others, the easier it gets. In the next part, we're going to explore how combining reframing with the mindfulness techniques we talked about earlier can create a powerful 1-2 punch for calming emotional storms. When you learn to catch your thoughts and reframe them, while staying grounded in the present, you'll find that emotional storms lose their power. So stay with me, because we're about to dive even deeper into how you can master your mind in the midst of any storm. Combining mindfulness and reframing. Your emotional toolkit. Now that you've got a solid understanding of mindfulness and cognitive reframing, let's explore how to combine these techniques to create a powerful toolkit for navigating emotional storms. When you merge mindfulness with reframing, you have a comprehensive approach that can help you regain control, calm your mind, and navigate even the toughest emotional challenges. Think of it this way. Mindfulness helps you become aware of your emotions and thoughts as they arise, while reframing gives you the tools to change those thoughts into something more positive and manageable. Together, they create a synergy that can be incredibly effective in calming emotional storms. Let's go through a scenario together. Imagine you're in a stressful situation at work. Maybe you have a big deadline looming, and you're feeling overwhelmed. The first thing to do is practice mindfulness. Take a moment to pause and check in with yourself. Notice how you're feeling. Are you anxious, stressed, maybe even a bit defeated? Acknowledge those feelings without judgment. This act of simply noticing what you're feeling is incredibly powerful. It's like shining a light on the storm instead of allowing it to swirl around in the darkness of your mind. Once you've recognized your feelings, shift your focus to your breath. Take a few deep, calming breaths using the 4-7-8 technique we discussed earlier. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. This not only helps calm your body, but also gives your mind a moment to reset. It's like hitting the pause button on the chaos. Now that you're feeling a bit more grounded, it's time to reframe your thoughts. Ask yourself, what am I really thinking right now? Maybe you're telling yourself, I can't handle this. I'm going to mess everything up. Challenge that thought by asking, is that really true? What evidence do I have that supports or contradicts this thought? Often, you'll find that the things you're worrying about are exaggerated or unfounded. Now comes the reframing part. Instead of, I can't handle this, you might say, this is challenging, but I've faced tough situations before, and I have the skills to get through this. By shifting your perspective, you change your emotional response from panic to empowerment. You begin to feel a sense of control returning, and suddenly, the emotional storm starts to lose its grip on you. Another way to combine mindfulness and reframing is through journaling. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can help you process emotions and gain clarity. Start by taking a few moments to write about what you're feeling. Use the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique to describe your surroundings. Then reflect on your thoughts. Write down the negative thoughts that are swirling around in your mind and then challenge them. What's the evidence for and against those thoughts? How can you reframe them to be more balanced and realistic? This practice not only helps you articulate your feelings, but it also allows you to see the storm more clearly. You can start to recognize patterns in your thoughts, which is the first step in breaking free from the cycle of emotional chaos. Remember, combining mindfulness and reframing takes practice, so don't be discouraged if it doesn't happen overnight. The more you integrate these techniques into your daily life, the easier it will become to navigate emotional storms as they arise. Take a moment right now to reflect on your day. Is there a situation where you felt overwhelmed? Maybe it was a conversation, a task at work, or something personal. How might you use mindfulness and reframing to change your experience? Can you picture yourself taking a few deep breaths, recognizing your feelings, and then reframing your thoughts? If you've tried this before, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. Sharing these moments can help reinforce your learning and provide support for others who might be struggling with similar storms. Building emotional resilience. Preparing for the storm. As we dive deeper into our journey of mastering emotional storms, it's time to focus on a crucial aspect: building emotional resilience. Resilience is like a shield that protects you from being overwhelmed by your emotions. It's about equipping yourself with tools and strategies that can help you weather any storm that life throws your way. So what does it mean to be emotionally resilient? At its core, emotional resilience is your ability to bounce back from setbacks, adapt to challenging situations, and maintain a sense of control over your emotions. Think of it as developing a mental fortitude that allows you to face difficulties with confidence and clarity. When you're emotionally resilient, you're not just reacting to the storms, you're prepared for them. Let's start with the first step in building emotional resilience: self-awareness. Knowing your emotional triggers is key. Take some time to reflect on your past experiences. Are there specific situations that tend to trigger strong emotional reactions for you? Maybe it's conflict with a coworker, stress from deadlines, or personal issues at home. By identifying your triggers, you can develop a better understanding of what challenges you most and prepare yourself mentally for those situations. Once you have a handle on your triggers, the next step is practicing self-care. Taking care of your physical, mental, and emotional well-being is essential for building resilience. This could mean getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising regularly, or engaging in activities that bring you joy. When you prioritize self-care, you're essentially filling your emotional toolbox. You become better equipped to handle challenges when they arise because you've taken steps to nurture yourself. Let's say you know that work stress is a trigger for you. Instead of waiting until you're in the thick of it, establish a self-care routine beforehand. This might include setting boundaries around work hours, making time for hobbies, or practicing relaxation techniques. When you actively engage in self-care, you build a reserve of emotional strength that you can draw from when challenges arise. Another vital aspect of emotional resilience is developing a support network. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, challenge you, and support you through tough times. Whether it's friends, family, or coworkers, having a solid support system can provide a safety net when you're facing emotional storms. They can offer different perspectives, lend a listening ear, or simply remind you that you're not alone. Don't hesitate to reach out to others when you're struggling. Vulnerability can be a strength. Sharing your feelings with trusted friends or family can lighten the emotional load and provide insight that you might not see on your own. Sometimes, just having someone listen to you can make a world of difference. Additionally, it's important to cultivate a growth mindset. This means viewing challenges as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. When you encounter a setback, ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Or, how can I use this to become stronger? By shifting your perspective, you'll find that challenges become less intimidating and more manageable. Think about your own life for a moment. What are some of your emotional triggers? How can you practice self-care to build your emotional resilience? And who can you lean on for support when things get tough? Reflecting on these questions can help you prepare for future storms. If you're comfortable, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments. Let's support each other in this journey to build resilience. Remember, we're all in this together. Putting resilience into action, daily strategies. Now that we've laid the groundwork for building emotional resilience, it's time to dive into some practical strategies you can implement in your daily life. These are actionable steps you can take to not only survive emotional storms, but to thrive in spite of them. Remember, the key to resilience is consistency. Making these practices a regular part of your life will help you strengthen your emotional muscles. First up is the practice of gratitude. This simple yet powerful technique can help shift your focus from what's going wrong to what's going right in your life. Each day, take a few moments to write down 3 things you're grateful for. They can be as small as a delicious cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or a beautiful sunset. This practice helps you cultivate a positive mindset, even during challenging times, reminding you that there's always something to appreciate. To take it a step further, consider creating a gratitude jar. Find a jar or a box and fill it with notes of gratitude. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, take a moment to read through them. This visual reminder of the positives in your life can be a powerful tool to counterbalance negative emotions. Next, let's talk about the importance of setting realistic goals. When facing challenges, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and unsure of where to start. Break larger tasks into smaller, manageable goals. This approach not only makes daunting tasks feel less intimidating, but also gives you a sense of accomplishment as you check off each small goal. For instance, if you're feeling stressed about a project, break it down into steps: research, outline, draft, and edit. Celebrate each step you complete. This will not only boost your confidence, but also keep the emotional storm at bay. Another strategy is to incorporate regular reflection into your routine. Take time at the end of each day or week to reflect on what went well and what you could improve. Ask yourself questions like, what did I learn today? Or how did I handle challenges? This practice not only helps you gain insights into your emotional responses, but also encourages a growth mindset, allowing you to view setbacks as opportunities for learning. Don't forget the power of physical activity. Exercise is a fantastic way to boost your mood and reduce stress. Whether it's a brisk walk, yoga, dancing, or hitting the gym, find an activity you enjoy and make it a regular part of your routine. Exercise releases endorphins, those feel-good hormones that can help elevate your mood and alleviate feelings of anxiety. Lastly, make sure to prioritize rest and recovery. In our fast-paced world, it can be easy to overlook the importance of downtime. Give yourself permission to rest and recharge. Whether it's setting aside time for hobbies, reading a book, or simply taking a break, remember that rest is an essential component of resilience. When you take care of yourself, you're better equipped to handle life's challenges. Now let's pause for a moment. Which of these strategies resonates with you the most? Is it practicing gratitude, setting realistic goals, incorporating exercise, or something else? Think about how you can integrate one or two of these practices into your daily routine starting today. Feel free to share your thoughts and any strategies you already use in the comments below. Your experiences can inspire others who are looking to build their emotional resilience as well. As we continue our exploration of emotional resilience, let's talk about self-compassion, an essential yet often overlooked component of navigating emotional storms. It's easy to be hard on ourselves when we're feeling overwhelmed or facing challenges. We tend to criticize ourselves for not handling things better or for feeling emotions we think we shouldn't feel. But here's the truth. Everyone experiences tough times, and everyone struggles with their emotions. Practicing self-compassion can be a game changer in how you cope with these storms. So what exactly is self-compassion? It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer to a good friend. When you face difficulties, instead of beating yourself up or spiraling into self-doubt, try to extend that same warmth and compassion to yourself. This mindset shift can drastically alter how you experience and respond to your emotions. Let's look at how to cultivate self-compassion. The first step is to practice mindful awareness of your emotions. This means acknowledging your feelings without judgment. When you're caught in an emotional storm, instead of pushing those feelings away or telling yourself you shouldn't feel that way, pause and recognize them. Say to yourself, it's okay to feel this way. This is a human experience. Next, try to connect with your common humanity. Remember that you're not alone in your struggles. Everyone goes through difficult times, and it's part of the human experience. When you remind yourself of this, it can help you feel less isolated in your pain. Think about the last time a friend confided in you about their struggles. Chances are you offered them compassion and support without judgment. Now, turn that same compassion toward yourself. You can also create a self-compassion mantra to remind yourself to be gentle when times get tough. For example, you might say, I am doing the best I can, or it's okay to feel what I'm feeling right now. Whenever you find yourself in the midst of an emotional storm, repeat this mantra to yourself. This simple act can help ground you and soften the harshness of self-criticism. Another powerful practice is to write yourself a letter of compassion. In this letter, express understanding and support for yourself during difficult times. Acknowledge your feelings, validate your struggles, and remind yourself of your strengths. This letter can serve as a reminder of your resilience and your ability to navigate challenges with grace. When you read it during tough times, it can help you reconnect with that compassionate voice. Lastly, don't forget the importance of forgiveness, both of yourself and of others. Holding on to grudges or self-blame can keep you stuck in a cycle of negativity. Practice letting go. Recognize that everyone makes mistakes, including you. Instead of lingering on what went wrong, focus on what you can learn and how you can grow from the experience. This mindset frees up emotional energy, allowing you to move forward rather than being trapped in the storm. Take a moment to reflect. How often do you practice self-compassion? Are there specific situations where you've harder to be kind to yourself? I invite you to think about ways you can incorporate self-compassion into your daily life, especially when emotional storms arise. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Your experiences can create a supportive community as we all work toward being kinder to ourselves. As we come to the end of our journey together today, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've covered. We started by understanding how your mind can trap you in an emotional storm, learning the importance of mindfulness, cognitive reframing, and building emotional resilience. We've discussed practical strategies to integrate these concepts into your daily life, including the power of gratitude, setting realistic goals, regular reflection, and the critical role of self-compassion. Remember, navigating your emotions doesn't have to feel overwhelming. It's about equipping yourself with the right tools and practices like mindfulness and self-compassion so you can face whatever life throws at you with confidence and clarity. Now, as you continue on this journey, I encourage you to take action. Start small. Pick one strategy from today's video that resonates with you and commit to practicing it daily. Maybe it's writing in a gratitude journal or setting aside time for mindfulness. Whatever it is, take that first step toward mastering your emotional landscape. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to our channel. Join our community of individuals dedicated to understanding and mastering their emotions. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We have more exciting content coming your way that will empower you to thrive in all aspects of life. And before we wrap up, here's a question for you to ponder. What is one emotional challenge you want to overcome in your life? And how can you apply what you've learned today to address it? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop your responses in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going and support each other in our journeys toward emotional mastery. Thank you for being with me. Remember, every storm eventually passes, and with the right tools, you can emerge stronger on the other side. Until next time, take care of yourselves and be kind to your hearts.